Hello and welcome to the aForm show. My name is Alan George and thank you very much for tuning in. Each week, we sit across from thought leaders and change makers in the architecture and design space of the GCC. We dive deep into their experiences, both professionally and personally, and share their valuable insight as to what makes them tick. Our goal is to add value to your day and help you navigate your own personal creative journey. Finally, the opinions and the views of the guest speakers are that of their own. They do not necessarily represent the views and the opinions of the show or the host. This episode was recorded before the COVID-19 outbreak. We greatly appreciate our guests and listener support during these uncertain times. We hope that wherever you may be, you are healthy and in good company. Remember, we are all in this together and we will come out the other side. Stay safe, stay inspired. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. This week, we are going to do something a little bit different. Our guest today joins us all the way from London to share her insights on a rather taboo topic, architectural recruitment. It's a topic which most of us don't openly talk about or discuss, a topic which most of us see as daunting, challenging, or maybe even just vague. If so, this episode is definitely going to bring value to you. So, joining us today we have Hayley Dyer from AE Recruitment. With over 20 years in the industry, Hayley joins us today to share her insights on the world of architectural recruitment, specifically for the Middle East. Hayley has spent a lot of time in this market, has sourced multiple candidates in this market, and has worked for some of the most sought-after firms in the region. She's worked with candidates at various skill levels, at various experience levels. So without a doubt, Hayley has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome everyone to the aForm show. Today's episode is a little different because we are out of our studio. We are literally out and about in the open. We are currently at The Block, which is this public skating park next to D3. Brilliant weather. It only made sense to kind of make use of it. And today's guest joins us all the way from London. And I would like you all to give a warm welcome to Hayley Dyer. Welcome to the show, Hayley.
Hi, thank you for having me.
As always, it's our pleasure. Hayley, if you could kind of let our listeners know a bit about your background and a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I do architectural recruitment. I've been doing it for 20 years and I've worked for companies like Hayes and Hilmer Glynn, who are now Randstad, which people probably would have heard of.
Right. So, Hayley, could you tell us a bit about your background in terms of architecture? Do you come from an architectural background?
Yeah, I do actually. My father was an architect, so I'm an architect's daughter.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, so basically, I worked for my dad when I was young. I wanted to earn extra cash, so I used to be basically his general dog's body, really.
Right.
But I'd spend quite a lot of time in the office with him, colouring his drawings. Oh, he was an old school architect as well, so
Right.
He had drawing boards everywhere. Had one in the house. So yeah, I have a background in architecture, love it, and it was a connection that I had with Dad. So yeah, it's really good. Throughout the years, I've kind of gone to him and asked him his advice on candidates, etc.
Right. And I'm just trying to understand. So why not go down the route of, professional practice and designing? How did you find the niche of recruitment?
Well, if I'm honest with you, I didn't enjoy drawing lines all day.
Well, that is honest,
it's very much on the technical side. But it is something that I regret now. I see some of the things that architects are creating, and especially in the Middle East, it's way out there. And I would have loved to have done that. But I guess this is the next best thing. I got picked up from Hayes, and the consultant at the time at Hayes, she was placing people into my dad's practice. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I started off there and then just kind of forged my career through architecture.
Right. Okay, that sounds very cool. So do you then focus on the Middle East market, is it? Or do you then do markets globally?
So when I started up the company, we were doing UK.
Okay.
And we then had a recession. And one of my friends from another agency, he said, "Look, Hayley, we're actually dealing with Atkins. Can you help us?
Right.
We've got 200 vacancies for architects." So we started helping him with those, and then just got recommended to other companies, and it just snowballed. We ended up not doing so much in the UK and solely concentrating on the Middle East. So yes, we do. It's our kind of speciality, really.
All right. I'm curious then, since you were based in the UK and you were, recruiting for the Middle East that heavily, were there any interesting parallels or tangents which you noticed across, say, both sectors and both markets in terms of the candidate pool and profile?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, it's completely different. In the UK, it's very much you're going to have to target your applicants and warm them up. But in the Middle East, there are so many applicants. It's unreal.
Right.
I mean, I had a job back in December. I had over 600 people apply to it.
Wow.
And that's just ludicrous. But it just goes to show what kind of competition everyone's under or up against, should I say. There's a lot of people wanting to move to Dubai these days and the Middle East. And yeah, they've got the work cut out, bless them.
Right. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone listening to this now probably has the most right off the bat questions that they could probably imagine. So I wonder, when you get, 600 applicants, like you just said, in your inbox for one job, and you need to go through that, could you kind of walk us through what that process is like from a recruiter point of view?
Yeah, sure. So a client will give us a job description and they'll specify their requirements, but it's like non-negotiable, basically.
Right.
To say a client will go, right, I want maximum 6 years experience. I don't need anyone more experienced than that. I've got people who are more experienced. I want, up to 6 years. So
right.
That would be a factor. A recruiter we don't read every single word in somebody's CV. It's impossible when you're going through that many applicants.
Rightly
so. We're trained to scan. Yeah, we're trained to scan through a CV initially. So we're looking for those non-negotiables.
Right.
The 6 years experience, and depending on it varies from role to role. Maybe it's like computer experience, their background, where they've worked before, where they're located. It's very kind of basic initially.
Right.
So what we would do is go through those applicants and just pick them off who fits those criteria, those initial criteria, and then get rid of the rest, unfortunately. If we see that we've got something else for them, then we'll let them know. But we have to go through that list as quickly as we can.
Right.
The next stage is kind of the once we've got a short list, we'll then go into details about those individuals and kind of dig a little bit deeper, have a conversation with them,
right.
And move them through the process from there.
Right. Okay. I'm curious from a client end point of view, because this is just, again, a question which I just thought of right now, but a lot of boutique firms, for example, maybe, not the multinationals, they tend to look for a lot more in terms of, how should I put it, maybe EQ and, those very intangible kind of passion and drive, and will this person really fit with my office culture, kind of situation. Yeah. And I'm wondering, from a recruiter point of view, how do you identify those?
I mean, you can tell. Opening a CV, you can tell somebody's mood, their mental state, what they think of themselves, all sorts of things, just through how somebody's written their CV. It's their choice of words, how their CV is laid out. You can go into real detail. I'd be interested to see whether somebody's done a study on it at some point. But
right.
But yeah, so I mean, the kind of people who stand out, the smaller consultancies or the boutique firms, like you say,
right,
are the ones that really do. You can tell their portfolio, for example,
right,
they'll go in stages. They're very methodical about how they put their portfolio together. It's not a load of images all squashed on one page, hoping that the client will go, oh, okay, fine, well, that's his work.
Right.
They kind of think about the process that they've gone through to come to the end design. So they start from A and get to Z, and there's a whole explanation. They give their work space to breathe, I call it. But it's like white space. You don't want everything kind of squashed together.
True.
And it's the same for the CV. squashing a CV onto 2 pages like people think that they should conform to
Right.
just doesn't work. And especially from a design perspective.
Right.
I do say to my guys, it's like, you're a designer. Make your CV look like a designer.
Exactly.
It needs to reflect you.
Right.
And I know that that's very difficult for some people to kind of comprehend. But once you actually sit down, if you sit down, actually, I tell you what, this is what I do with some of my coaching sessions. I get my guys to go and take themselves away, delete the CV that they've got initially.
Right.
And take themselves away, go and watch something really funny.
Right.
and then start with a blank page, because the mood that you put on the page says a lot about how you feel.
True.
About your current employer, about the industry, about whatever. And as a reader, you do pick up on that. So you want to make the best impression possible.
Right.
And I think people don't understand that for a start. They just want to put bullet points of what their duties are. And that's great. Yes, we do need that from a keyword perspective. We need to understand exactly what you do.
Right.
But where's your personality?
True.
Designers are very creative, and we want to see that.
Right. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, because I think CVs and portfolios are kind of like a design project if you were to think about it. And I guess the really good ones kind of treat it as such. So, you kind of have that initial idea and you build up on it and you document your process and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially with these, like you say, the boutique firms, they're like, where's their passion?
Right.
Or they haven't worked, where's these quirky projects? Or, they're always, they need someone who's going to come into a team who gels well with their existing team.
Right.
So they need to be able to establish what kind of character a person is from the off.
Exactly. All right. The next question that we kind of had, which I was kind of thinking about, because obviously all architects, I guess, at some point of their career start to go on to the hiring end of things. So a lot of questions that I get from, fresh grads and mid-level applicants are, they kind of always want to, say what their achievements are and what they've done and the projects they've worked on. For a lot of them, they kind of see it as bragging. And that kind of makes them a bit uncomfortable because they're like, I don't want to come off as, this pompous guy who's, worked on only, these XYZ projects. And I kind of want to, show what else I can do. So I guess the question which I'm framing to you is on a CV or a portfolio, is there such a thing as bragging? And if so, is there a limit to it or not?
No. See, I'm of the ilk of going, brag as much as you like.
Right.
I think architects just don't do it enough.
Right.
You read a CV, it's, I'm an architect and I have a passion for the industry. It's it comes across as very monotone. But, let's see your passion. Let's see who this person is. I don't see it as bragging. And honestly, if you did my job, if you were sat in my position, the majority of CVs look exactly the same.
Right.
They're bullet pointed, they're very monotone, and there isn't any bragging at all.
Right.
So I think kind of people need to readjust the way that they think about it. It's a sales pitch at the end of the day.
True.
The employer needs to know why they should employ you.
Right.
Is it because you say that you've got passion? No, they need it demonstrated.
Right.
So they need facts and they need the visuals to back it up.
Right. Okay.
That's funny. Bird in the background.
Well, to all our listeners, then feel free to brag away as much as you want.
Yeah, I mean, I would go for it. I don't think people do it enough, and it is a sales pitch to the client, and you need to put yourself in the position of an employer thinking, what do they want? And also, while you're writing a CV in your portfolio, my advice is to tailor it to the actual job description.
Right.
So, there's a lot of applications that I'll get through where somebody will call me up and say, look, Hayley, I am perfect for this role. I'll go through their CV with them and say, right, do you have this experience? Yes, I do. Well, it's not in your CV.
Right. Correct.
So it's how they translate it into their CV as well.
Right.
Go through a job description and pick out the key points. If you have that experience, you need it in the CV. I mean, at the end of the day, HR and recruiters aren't specialists. I'm not an architect, although I've got a background in architecture and I've done this for forever.
Right.
You know, I can interpret what an architect is saying, but when you're going through 600 and you're scanning, you need to see those keywords so that you don't get missed, basically. Yeah, so it's about tailoring what you've got. But yeah, brag away, definitely. Brag.
All right.
Don't be alive.
All right. Awesome. Apart from the actual CV and portfolio, since, obviously everyone now pretty much has some kind of social presence on some kind of social media of some kind, be it professional or personal, from a recruiter point of view, do you see that as a factor of consideration on how good or bad someone's social presence is?
Well, the thing is, so the employers always look, always.
Right. Okay.
They'll do a bit of digging. So we've got to do it.
Right.
At the end of the day. I do go on and on about the CVs and the portfolios, but a LinkedIn profile, your social media says a hell of a lot as well. It's the same thing.
Right.
If you've got an employer on your, say, LinkedIn profile that you haven't said anything about, chances are that you didn't actually like that job. If you've spoken about the other employers you've worked for, and you can read between the lines.
Right.
So, but it's all about personal brand, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think people in general need to be more aware of their personal brand. What do I stand for? The people that stand out are already streaks ahead, and everyone else just needs to kind of level up to what they're doing.
Right.
It's a lot easier when you come to looking for a job, looking for employment, or heaven forbid you find yourself unemployed. You've got like this. You go into a panic kind of mode.
True.
Oh, what do I do? What do I do?
Exactly.
And if you have everything prepared beforehand,
true,
you are in a much better position because you're already there. And recruiters will already start to pick you up. So will companies. If you've got this kind of brand out there.
Right.
And your LinkedIn profile's on point, your CV's on point, your portfolio's all there. It's just about tweaking it to the various roles that you're applying to. I mean, I wouldn't advise that people would completely change their CVs and stuff, but it kind of need to delve a little bit deeper about what you're applying to. I know that's not always easy to do, especially if you're going through a recruiter and you don't know the client or it's a job board.
True.
Pay a bit of attention to the actual job that you're applying to and the client and tailor it to them.
Right.
So that you stand out.
Right.
But yeah, I think all of it is really important. I'm not so fussed about Twitter. I don't really get Twitter though. but I just don't. I mean, we post jobs on there.
Right.
But we never get anything from it.
Right.
We never get anything from it. Maybe it's because we don't talk to anyone. I don't know. but yeah, certainly on LinkedIn, it's a massive work.
Right.
Yeah, it's not utilized enough as far as I'm concerned. I think people are scared about using it. I do some of my coaching sessions that I do with my guys. Like, oh, Hayley, I don't want to upset anyone, or maybe they'll think this, or maybe they'll think that. And I guess as long as you're adding value to your network, what's the problem? It's no different to Facebook, really. I mean, what I don't like to see is inspirational quotes on LinkedIn. I think that's a bit kind of pointless, but I think that's a Facebook thing, really. But yeah, offer up information about where you're at, where your projects are at, or maybe there's a problem that you've had and you found a solution. Let your network know.
Right.
But it's a tool that you can use for future employment or anything. Finding candidates, you can do whatever you want with it. Find work.
True.
But it's not utilized enough. And if people can't find you, if people can't find your work, then how are they supposed to know? There's so many other people out there that are talking about themselves and they're out there. They're the ones that everyone gravitates to.
True.
So just everyone else needs to get to that point. It's scary, but you just get there. Once you start posting, it's not all that bad.
Right. I think you kind of touched on a topic which is quite interesting in terms of building a personal brand for yourself to kind of
Mm.
represent yourself essentially. Do you happen to have any kind of a few steps which anyone can do to kind of go towards building your personal brand? Because
Yeah, sure.
I can see how it's a little difficult for someone who probably say works in another practice. Because on the one hand, you don't want to be, contradictory to the place where you're working. Sometimes, your
Yeah.
designs and thoughts may not align with where you practice. So, how do you then go about building your personal brand?
Steps to building a personal brand should have, you kind of need to sit down, define those keywords. I know I talk about keywords quite a lot. Keywords that define you as an architect. Not the passionate type, not that. It's more about like maybe it's sustainability or hospitality.
Right.
And define who you are, what motivates you.
Okay.
And then you kind of build a profile out from there.
Right.
You've mentioned how the architects, how do they build it if they're working for a client? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of need to accept that if your vision doesn't align with who you're working for, you are going to move on from them at some point.
True.
And in the Middle East, it's kind of, you do see it on LinkedIn. I'm looking for a job all the time. People seem to not mind so much. I mean, if it was the UK, you wouldn't really see that.
Right.
You don't necessarily see an architect on LinkedIn currently working for a firm, but advertising themselves looking to work.
Right.
So it's kind of a different, it's a bit of a different ball game in the Middle East, I think.
Right.
But you just need to get yourself out there, really. And I think everyone looks at an individual thinking, right, this person is trying to best themselves. They're trying to do this. They're doing education on the side. They're trying to, progress. They're learning new techniques. So you're going to see that all the time, I think, with any individual. We all want to learn more. So it's just about, I wouldn't be so worried about it if I were you or anyone who's kind of looking for a job, really.
Right. Okay. Just to kind of inspire the listeners to maybe, get their creative juices flowing, because I'm sure a lot of them probably listening to this now have a few ideas as to how they want to, tweak their CV or change their portfolio or, something of that nature.
Yeah.
Could you perhaps give us an example of some as an application which in recent time probably stood out to you?
Yeah. I mean, when you sent me this question, I did actually have a little bit of a giggle. I haven't really received an unorthodox application from an architect, and it kind of surprises me, really. But I have heard of lots of examples where people have done all sorts of things, down to even kind of subliminal messages in CVs. So,
all right.
I mean, it's hard work, though. I'm not sure that you could do this for every application, but do a bit of research about the client that you're working for, and whoever's going to be, say you got to interview stage maybe, and rejig your CV and tailor it to the person that's interviewing you. Find out what their interests are and put some subliminal messages in there about what they like as well. But yeah, I mean, what examples have I seen? I've seen application that this woman put in for Pinterest, for example.
Right.
And she designed her CV in the format of Pinterest.
Oh, wow.
So it's all red boxes and all of this, and then put each company that she worked for in one of those boxes. So it really stood out. But an architect could do the same. You could use the client that you're applying to. You could find something, a project that they've been working on, and tailor your CV to look like their project or your portfolio. You should get really creative with it. And something that I've started working with some of the people that want to improve their portfolios, etc., is looking at websites like that.
Right.
Putting together. You don't need to put a lot of money into it. You could do a free WordPress site, use bolt-ons, and create something that moves and just looks a bit different. It stands out from the rest.
Right.
Have some images flying in. I don't know. I mean, you just want to grab somebody's attention any way you can.
True.
I think designers kind of miss a trick, really. You're the designers there.
Right.
Come up with something. And also, this is your career. It's your way of your stepping stone, getting that next break. If an employer can see that you've got vision and you're creative and you can think outside the box, you're automatically way ahead of the rest.
True. I agree completely. And this is, well, obviously not to that level of detail, but I've kind of given similar advice in the past as well. But it's nice to be to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth, if you may, that that's exactly what they should be doing. I guess my final question to you, Haley, is more on kind of the project which you have going on. I don't want to give too much away. And if you could maybe tell our listeners about what exactly it is that you have going on LinkedIn, and how that would be of benefit to them.
Okay. I mean, it kind of goes back to all these applications that everyone else is competing, or the jobs that they're competing for. It's a kind of, from the recruiter's perspective, we see so many CVs, so many portfolios, and it's frustrating sometimes because you know that somebody's got that talent. They're obviously good at their job. They're creative. They're a designer. And it's when people get to job search, maybe they've lost their job, or, heaven forbid they've lost their job, or they're looking for work, and they kind of go into this different mode. They're not so outgoing anymore. They kind of lose their personality a little bit. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm working with coaching and online. I've put together an online platform for job seekers. It's just kind of making people realize that they need to look at their job search from a completely different way. It's not such a scary thing. This is your opportunity to progress. Right. And it's your opportunity to get yourself out there. So what I've been doing is kind of highlighting areas that people can maybe think about. It's just suggestions, really. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule, but you're more likely as an employer to take someone on who's got a lot of design flair, who's really positive, and it reflects in their CV and all their work, their LinkedIn profile, etc. And on the courses that I've put together, I've worked with one of the designers that we've had her out on interview. Every time we sent her CV and portfolio somewhere, she's had an interview.
Wow.
And it's because she's so passionate about the industry. She does it to progress herself outside of work. So she does extra courses, and she's doing a master's. She's built a website. She does videos. She's got so much passion, and she doesn't need to say the word passion. It's evident to see.
Right.
This is what I'm trying to get people to understand. It's, I'm not trying to dictate to people, you need to do this or you need to do that. But equally, we've all been in a scary situation where we've been out of work or we're looking for a job, and it's not a nice feeling. But if we look at it from a completely different perspective, prepare ourselves before it happens.
Right.
Get your brand on point, and you feel a completely different way about your job search, and you approach it in a different way. It's not about scattergunning your CV out to as many companies as possible in the hope that somebody will pick up your CV. That's not the way to do it. If you approach everything in life with, oh no, I'm at this situation again, or I hate work, or I hate my boss, it only snowballs from there. It doesn't get any better. But if you look at it from a completely other perspective, and how can we make it a positive situation? What you need to look at with your job search, it's just changing your mindset.
Okay. Is there any way where our listeners could probably contact you if they would want to take this, a bit further? Where would be the best place to reach you?
Sure. I mean, you can certainly follow me on LinkedIn, Haley Dyer. And then my website is aerecruitment.ae. And you've got the online courses. So you can either go like pay as you go, take what you want and go through the courses online. Or there's the coaching sessions, which are either the online courses all combined with the coaching session with me at the end, or there's just one-on-one with me. So that we've got them in 3 stages to hopefully target everyone.
Right.
Because I know Ed doesn't want to do the full coaching, but maybe they want to improve their CV and their chances on that side.
Right.
So they can go on the online course and go through that. And there's examples on there. There's tutorials, illustrations. They can go for their life, but it's all there to improve their chances of being seen by the employer.
Right. All right. Awesome. Well, I guess that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. This was quite insightful. And I think a lot of people listening to this definitely have a lot of value added. It's definitely a lot to think about. I mean, I myself, I'm kind of thinking about a lot of things I should do right now at this point. But I think it was really, really refreshing to kind of hear from obviously the recruitment side of things, but then just to kind of make yourself stand out. I think that's something which a lot of architects here kind of struggle with. And I think that everything you had to say really, really helped. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, if you want to do it again in the future, let me know.
Awesome. I think we could definitely look into something wherein we could maybe pick a single topic and maybe dive a lot deeper into that. I think that would be really, really cool.
Sure. I mean, and if people have questions, right. I think it's really difficult sometimes to sit from a recruiter's perspective because we're sat here looking at all these CVs going, oh no, he could do this, he could do that, but we can't get back to everyone telling that, saying that. And also, the majority of people don't really want to hear it. They think their CV is fine, and you feel like you're offending them. When actual fact, you're just trying to help. So yeah, we can always see where people can improve, and it's just whether the people want to improve, I think, really. But hopefully, with these podcasts and what I'm trying to do, hopefully people will see that they can just make simple tweaks, and it can make the world of difference.
Couldn't agree more. On that note, Hayley, once again, thank you so much for being part of the aForm show. We really appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch.
You're very welcome. Okay, well, take care. Speak to you soon.
All right. Fellow aFormers, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being part of our journey, and thank you for the immense support we've been receiving for our episodes. It has and continues to be a very bumpy road, but we wouldn't want it any other way. If you enjoyed this episode and it brought you value, please share this episode with anyone who may benefit from it. But of course, if you loved the episode, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, send us a little DM, and we may just send you a secret link to a secret episode which we've been working on. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. See you next time. Keep sketching.